From the air, you can see how the dunes of the Dutch coast, in some places kilometers wide and in others just a narrow ribbon, protect the low-lying country against floods. This sand is blown away, while waves and currents take it north along the Dutch coast to the Wadden Sea. The coast gradually loses sand. Our ancestors knew this. They used dams and breakwaters to keep the sand in place and planted the dunes with marram grass to protect the coast. But keeping sand in one place means that other places run short. Rising sea levels and more extreme storms will aggravate those shortages in the future. So we're planning to deposit an enormous reservoir of sand alongside the coastline. Winds and currents will spread the sand, bolstering the weak spots in the coast and enhancing flood protection, as well as creating space for nature development and recreation. We call this Building with Nature. This film shows how the approach could work. Large trailing suction hopper dredgers pick up sand from the depths of the North Sea, while making sure that sea life can recover quickly. The dredgers take the sand to the coast, creating a sort of peninsula that immediately reduces the risk of flooding. Here and there, sections of the peninsula are raised about another 10 meters to introduce more variety. From the very beginning, the sand starts to be blown and washed away. Especially in the beginning, change is fast and there is plenty of room for spectacle and for relaxation, even though it's important to keep on the lookout for new and unexpected currents. The first birds start to brood on the exposed sand shoals after a few years, needing only broken shells and beached material to build their nests. The first plants start to take root around the newly formed dunes. During storms, the sand blows into the lagoon, settling into the calm waters, resulting in small muddy flats that are taken over by small salt-tolerant vegetation. Life teems in the shallow waters of the lagoon. Regular visitors will see how fast the wind and weather transform the landscape. "10 to 15 years later, the high sand ridge has been eroded by storms. The tides have eaten out broad inlets, and the mudflats are covered in vegetation. Some of the eroded sand has now been deposited on the shore, reducing the flood risk in these places. Over the years, storms have scored out channels from the sea to the lagoon. Anybody going to the tip of the peninsula now has to wade through water and brave muddy flats. Large sections of the lagoon have now silted up, falling dry at low tide. This is a great place for beachcombers, littered with driftwood, rope, and other flotsam and jetsam. The islands are also popular with seals. They pick up what they need from the lagoon and near the shore, where porpoises are occasional visitors. The entire peninsula has now crept a long way towards the land. So much sand has accumulated in front of the old dunes that new rows of dunes have now appeared. On the new coastline, there is a mobile beach stand that can move as the landscape changes. The villages behind the dunes prosper as the new coastal area attracts large numbers of visitors. The lagoon has almost entirely disappeared, and the new dunes along the coastline have grown so tall from the new sand that species such as sea buckthorn, sea holly, and viper's bergloss have taken root. To the north as well, the coast is now more robust and appealing thanks to the widening of the dunes and the enrichment of nature. This is a fantastic place for school trips because there is so much to see and do. The peninsula has almost gone. The new dunes are now so tall that the wind has shaped new valleys and shiny white peaks. The coastal area is now so wide and varied that peace and quiet are preserved even at peak periods. Between the new rows of dunes, the groundwater has formed some small ponds, creating a wet dune valley. Seawater now penetrates into this area only during storm tides. These marshy areas are home to some of the richest nature in our country. In the spring, it is a colourful ocean of flowers. Grazers preserve the rich variety of the dunes with grassland, bushes and forests. 50 years have passed. Most of the sand has been washed away and the coastline is almost straight once again. There is a double row of dunes with broad-leafed forests covering the older dunes. Building with nature has not only created rich dune areas, it has also made it possible to grow in line with rising sea levels for 50 years and to strengthen the coastline in a sustainable way. The cycle can now begin again.